How's it going, everybody? JT here on behalf of the EVMavericks DAO and the Ethereum Daily General Discussion, welcoming you to this 141st episode for February 27, 2026. I'm joined with Jake, with Jake from qrcoin.fun, as well as LogrisTheBard from tokenomicsexplained.com. Jake, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us. I know it's been a work in progress trying to get some schedules managed, but we're damn glad you made it. And our friends over on the Mavericks introduced your project to the show, and now you're on the show, and we really appreciate you taking the time. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Well, likewise, it's been a incredible winter. We've got the bear market in full effect, and I feel like despite all of the bears, all the building takes place now. And you've produced this project with some help, but you've also got some other irons in the fire. We're going to learn all about that today. I always like to do a dive in with our guests every show, not so much about when did you hear about Bitcoin, but more importantly, your formative years. What brought you to this point now? What were you doing in the world previous to this project?
Yes. So I would say like my formative years, a big sort of time that changed the trajectory of my life, I would say, was after my freshman year of college. Had a pretty bad year for a number of reasons, some of which were sort of outside of my control, and really was looking for a change of anything basically, and ended up deciding to take a gap year to try to start a company, and that was sort of my first real step off the beaten path. You know, most people, you're put in school when you're 5 or whatever, and then just sort of go from one grade to the next with the summers in between until you're 22 or 23 or whatever. And then you're, out into the quote unquote real world and have to sort of figure it out. And even then, and then you sort of have a career and then you retire, and like life can be quite scheduled and sort of rigid, stay between the lines if you just sort of follow blindly. And so that year was sort of something that kind of like woke me up in a sense, and got to sort of scratch this entrepreneurial bug sort of full time for the first time. And my life, I think after that point, was like quite different in a number of ways. And so fast forwarding a little bit, I ended up going back to school after what became a gap year, and the company didn't work out, but it was like a transformative year, like I said, and positive in a lot of ways. And graduated a few years later from school, and started my career in investment banking, working for a group that was doing technology mergers and acquisitions. So basically selling software companies to larger software companies, or private equity buyers, or buyers like that. And after a couple of years with that, sort of decided to take a leap into the unknown, quit without knowing what was next, and traveled for a little bit, started really digging into crypto. This was 2019, 2020. COVID hit. Started, I was already sort of writing a lot. I was writing a blog post every weekday, publishing a blog post every weekday, and started the Twitter account that I've since been using. Sort of like started on the internet, basically started a podcast several months later. And then ended up working from the podcast. My 30-second guest was a guy named Balaji Srinivasan.
Yeah.
A lot of people in crypto might know.
Nice.
Yeah. So worked with him for a couple of years, and ultimately as his chief of staff. So helped him with a lot of like angel investing type stuff, where he's pretty prolific, and he was writing the network state book at the time and things like that.
Can I ask you real quick about him? I think, did he do a Lex Friedman podcast that was like 7 hours long?
I think so. I loved it. I think he did a podcast that was several hours. I think it was Lex. That adds up. I mean, Lex can go forever, and Balaji can speak forever. So
I enjoyed it.
A match made in heaven.
I sent that podcast to my son. I'm like, I don't know if you can carve out some time to listen to it. You can agree or disagree with Balaji, but I felt like that that podcast was really good. If anybody has a chance to listen to it, it's like, I think it's 7 hours or so. I too had 2 freshman years of college with a gap year of construction, and yeah, you kind of you get out there. Well, and like you said, you had a failed, air quote failed first company, but those things right there. I mean, you learn 10 times the knowledge that you would have gotten in a classroom anyway, just by doing. Yeah. So anyway, continue on. So that's cool. You were his sidekick there for a while, and then what followed?
Yeah. So then 2023, so a little over 2 years ago, again, sort of, decided to take a leap of faith and bet on myself and just sort of take a jump into the unknown. And I knew that I wanted to sort of, do things on my own, try to build things on my own, and started with an NFT collection called Base Colors. It's an NFT collection for every color on the internet. So there's one NFT for every hex code. As the name suggests, it's built on Base. And I think one thing, I don't know how much of an NFT crowd this may or may not be, but
our whole social layer of the EVMavericks is the most unique. Built around it. It's the most unique NFT experience. I don't want to derail the conversation and tell you about it, but I should tell you later on.
Yeah, I guess that was pretty silly. I'm familiar enough with EVMavericks to know, all the lions, and you guys are obviously NFT, pro NFT, and in a lot of ways are pro NFT community. So anyway, I sort of have this. I actually never really got into the original NFT craze in like 21, 22. But I always had this idea that if I, was going to be interested in a collection, I thought a collection for every color on the internet was like the coolest collection I could think of. It's sort of like the most fundamental element, I would say, of art. Like NFT largely is about, obviously it's about community as well, but it, like in terms of it's largely about art. And so, color is sort of like the most fundamental element of art, I would say, in addition to maybe like, you could argue like lines or shapes or something. But the difference between colors and lines and shapes is there's, an infinite number of different lines and shapes that you can make, but there's actually an objective finite number of colors on the internet.
And what is that number?
So it's kind of similar to the supply of Bitcoin, which is kind of a cool little thing, I think. But it's 16,777,216. And so whenever you see a hex code, there's like the six characters, and so there's basically that many combinations of those characters. So FFF is white, 0000000 is black.
These are RGB codes basically, right? So it's red, channel, green, blue. Yeah.
And so like 00, my color here, the blue is sort of pure blue. It's 0000FF, and like you said with the RGB, the first 2 characters sort of define like the red value, the second 2 the green, and the last to the blue. And so like if you think about my color, there's no red, no green, and maximum blue.
This whole thing kind of comes from how the human eye works, not to derail the conversation totally, but you have different sensors in your eye for different colors. So even though the primary colors in like color theory are red, yellow, and blue, the human eye is most sensitive around the peaks of red, green, and blue. They look most distinct from each other. You detect them more easily. It's just basically a fact of biology. So when they built computer monitors, they built something that was optimized for the human eye.
Interesting. There's this technological prowess that I heard about in advance of the recording. I'm learning stuff about colors right now.
And so when they had to make like what information do you feed to the monitor, and with like OLCD computer monitors, basically they have these tiny little pixels within a pixel for each of the color channels. Like there's literally like a red subpixel within your pixel and a green subpixel within your pixel, and those blend on the way out and get polarized and stuff. So you you basically have this at the monitor level, and so you're feeding a very direct, like unfiltered kind of signal that basically just programs the monitor for one pixel with one color as a mix.
Right.
So it's a very fundamental part of how computers work, how the human eye works, how biology works. It's like this representation of RGB and owning this is a fundamentally human thing, right? It's a fundamentally biological thing. It's a fundamentally computer science thing. It's not something that's likely to change in 100,000 years, because unless we like rip out our eyeballs and replace them with some some type of camera that adds another color channel, like a B or something, right? We could see ultraviolet. This is just going to be how it is. You have something that will stand the test of time if you have a unique color in this representation.
Yeah. And thanks for all that. That makes like I just became more bullish on my own project, basically. And I like how much you use the word like fundamental as well. Like the words that come to mind for me for this, like while building it, were like the primary ones, at least, were like sort of fundamental, and then like non-arbitrary is the other one. Like most NFT collections during the craze and still today are like, well, what's the supply of EVMavericks?
Okay, you ready? 1,324 were minted.
Okay, where does that come from?
That comes from.
It's a stupid meme. Oh God.
The number isn't the issue was like the number that were issued was based off of a meme, but the only way you could get a Maverick was based off of your community involvement on Reddit in the daily general discussion over the course of like a 2 or 3 year period. Somebody scraped the data from Reddit. I guess
Get a bunch of data science on it, aggregated the top posters by like upvote and curated content, ranked it, and then said, if you want an NFT, just let me know like what address to send it to, and you'd let them this claim process.
There was no pre-sale. There was none of that. It was like, you're on the list. You can mint it if you want to. You've earned it. So we get to claim that we were the first retroactively awarded NFT project in the history of NFTs. No one else has done it. It's based off of community, human input on Reddit that was valued redeemable.
So rather than having money be our simple resistance layer to stop someone from acquiring all 1,324 of them, right? We used reputation. We used past effort.
Reputation.
It's basically a historical proof of work that we used as our simple resistance layer in order to form a community. And then we had to go through the step of like, what's the values of this community, right? We had to form our charter, our constitution, and ratify that and say like, what are we about? And we are an education focused DAO, which leads us to a podcast with Jake.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the lore, but I think that's like basically, you know, a lot of supply and sort of like mint mechanics and all of this for a lot of projects is like quite arbitrary. Your guys is actually not,
hard.
I would say. Like the number is meme based, and then the logic is like strategic.
Yeah, there was no advanced knowledge of it whatsoever. It was like handled by a small group of people that were saying, hey, I'd like to produce an NFT, but we won't tell the community anything. They'll just one day be presented with the opportunity to mint their lion. So there's no game theory involved to get it wasn't like you could just shit post a bunch and then here's the mint date. It was like, boom, day one, you earned a lion based off of your past contributions for the last 36 months or whatever it was. So it's really novel. Nobody, to our knowledge, we were the first, and I don't think you really see a lot of that. It's the most anti-grift NFT with like the most insanely limited supply. I mean, it's incredible. We're proud of it.
No, I mean, it sounds like you should be. And I think for what it's worth, like I mentioned, I was never really into the NFT craze of like 21, 22. I'm like hyper bullish on the potential of like digital communities that are aligned and able to like, you know, self-organize and actually like sort of take coordinated collective actions. This is part of the overlap with when I, you know, had Biology on my podcast and ended up going and working for him. Like it wasn't by accident, and it wasn't because he had like a job posting or something like that. I had been having a lot of interesting people on my podcast, but of everyone in the world, his areas of interest were like the most for the future and technology and things were like the most aligned with mine in terms of like the crypto part, obviously, but then, you know, his concept of the network state. At the time, I was thinking of it more in terms of like city building. I think sovereignty is, you know, an extra layer that brings something from like city to country. And then, pre-city, there's also like town, which is actually more what I'm thinking about these days. But this concept of either way, whatever level of scale or sovereignty, the concept that you can get a group of people organized online doing digital things first, and then, as Balaji would say, sort of like print that into, the physical world, or as I sort of think about it, sort of like manifest into the real world. It doesn't really matter the term, like the same concept applies. And so I think in a way, NFT communities are one of the first sort of like V0 versions of this category of things that we're talking about. Or, DAOs, I guess, similarly, or combinations of the two. And it's all like very early. But anyway, it's like I was never like super into, there's a lot of like grift and whatever that goes on. And I respect a lot of the art side of like the NFT, which is like not as much community oriented, more just like sort of digital art. And that's cool too. Like I respect various pieces of NFTs and what they are, but I'm probably most interested in that sort of like community involvement from the digital to physical world. And
So
then
the
on the art side, like I said, I'm like not that easily compelled. Everything feels somewhat arbitrary to me, but colors, like it couldn't to me be like more fundamental and sort of non-arbitrary than that. And I tried very, explicitly to make the various design decisions around how the collection works so as not to sort of like disturb that, to like so basically not to make any arbitrary decisions or not to do anything that would like sort of stain the long-term viability of the project. And the last thing I would sort of mention on it is that, like as I was saying, like sort of first generation of NFTs on mainnet, you sort of had to have a high value per NFT, like a high unit price, a high floor, because gas was pretty high. And so like you're not going to pay, $10, $20 a gas for like, a $1 NFT. It just doesn't really make sense. It doesn't even feel good to pay 10 or $20 worth of gas for a $40 NFT. It's like too large as a percentage. Like people aren't used to transaction fees being a material percentage of the overall, transaction. And so you had to have a high floor, and accordingly, you basically had to have a low supply, yeah, a relatively low supply, because like if you have, a billion in a collection, you're not going to have a high floor. Like it just doesn't make sense.
right.
What changed, I think, is that, and we haven't really had like a solid, NFT, nothing like the original NFT craze, or not the original, but 2021, 2022, whatever, the big one. We haven't had that since then. But if we were to have that again, my sort of thesis is that like the old, 10,000, 8,000, whatever it is, NFT collections, punks, apes, penguins, whatever. Obviously, your guys is smaller, and probably partly that's why it's been able to be such a strong community, because it is like more small, like closer to Dunbar number, or like whatever, that sort of thing. But I think one of the reasons that like meme coins have taken off, fungible tokens, is, I mean, there's a liquidity issue with NFTs. But there's also the fact that like with a meme coin, you can get unlimited number of people into the community and like sort of, talk in their bags or whatever. In NFTs, you're always going to be limited. If you have 10,000 units in the collection and the average person owns, more than one, sometimes there's someone with like hundreds or thousands on their own or whatever, then like you have a limited scale of the community. And I think like non-fungibility as sort of a attribute has been underrated due to that, and due to the lack of liquidity with NFTs in their current state. But I think like non-fungibility as an isolated attribute is pretty underrated right now, given like if you compare the market cap of all NFTs to the market cap of all fungible tokens, it's like ridiculous. And so with base colors, like the idea is like there's 16 million. And so let's just call it like, if the floor is $3 per NFT, then you have a market cap for the collection based on the floor of like 50 million or so. And that's like, it's like, okay, that's like those numbers kind of work. That's like a reasonable situation. You've got 16 million units, $3 a pop, 50 million market cap. And like the reason I think that it works is like, like I said, there's no transaction fees essentially. They round to zero. It's like a tenth of a cent on base. And so you don't need to have an arbitrarily small supply in order to justify a fairly large floor because transaction fees are relatively large. You can just have a very low value floor and a very large supply and a much larger community. And then the last problem, which is not solved, is how to make these things more liquid. And I actually have an idea around that. I'm probably not
So
going to
there's
share it
two kind of
publicly, but
aspects to an NFT, right? There's, if I was drawing an analogy to a house, right? You kind of have the features of your house, like the number of square foot in it, the number of bedrooms, that type of stuff. That's the art of your specific NFT. In our lions, we've got, glasses and cigars and different color lions and stuff, right?
right,
That's the unique individuality part of the NFT. The other part of the NFT is the community that it belongs to, which would be the equivalent of like, well, I've got our community pool and our community exercise room, and we're this part, like we're in this zip code, which is in this part of the city. It's the sort of ecosystem benefits of that association. Having access to the other members of the NFT community and a joint purpose, right? So
right.
for Mavericks, we decided our joint purpose was education, and you're experiencing that right now.
Right.
The what would be the joint purpose? And so, okay, you've got colors. What makes people want to join this as a community? What are the community benefits? What's the community purpose? How do you decide that? How do you organize that?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is I don't know. The longer answer, I guess, is that I would expect that to be emergent. And that could be like in one of two ways. Like, I don't know how education became your guys' focus. It sounded like it wasn't on day one.
The purpose of Reddit kind of is we're sharing what we know about Ethereum, right? And we're evangelizing the adoption of this technology and the benefits
Right.
of it. And so it's always kind of like if you're interacting with other people over Reddit, you're probably discussing something and educating yourself or educating someone else. And so that kind of carried over to let's fund projects that spread awareness of applications like this podcast. Let's fund projects that spread awareness of Ethereum itself. Let's participate in things like Octane grants and whatnot, right? To try and take that purpose, but as you said, to manifest it in the real world through capital. So if you want to go from a purely digital realm to a physical realm, and a tried and true way to do that is to take a provably scarce form of capital and give it to some physical actor to go and do physical things in the real world, right?
Mm,
If you're an AI and you want to take over the world, you'd first game the stock market, make $1 billion, then pay some humans to set you free. Right? Like it's,
mm,
even if you're in a purely digital cage, it doesn't stop you from having influence on the world, even if your circle of control is purely limited to the digital realm. It's all
right.
through capital and basically converting capital from a digital representation to physical energy and motion. It's like converting potential energy to kinetic energy through an engine,
Right.
right? So we do that in an education focused way because that's our charter. But I can imagine colors having like we're going to support the arts or something as a generic vision, saying like
Yeah.
okay, like let's figure out how we can get some money to museums to do things to promote the adoption of NFTs and NFT art and the art community. Let's figure out how we can crowdfund buying some famous pieces of art and owning that, kind of like Constitution DAO was founded to buy a historical artifact, right? You could go and acquire arts. You could run your own museum. You could go and fund artists. You could promote the arts generally. There's a lot of things you could do if you decided that was your thing to rally around. But I don't know that. I don't know who's buying the individual colors besides you, and how much shared purpose there is, and whether. I'll say, in my opinion, having a shared purpose is one of the marketing things that helps people to want to join a community because they're not just joining, I've got a color, they're
Yeah.
joining, I have a shared purpose, and here's our agenda and the way we're trying to make the world better.
I
Yeah,
just
I would
minted
like-
a color. How about that? We did it live.
Got one, man.
We did it
I
live.
saw
There we
I
go.
saw that. I was getting project more philosophical guidance at the same time as I was getting very tangible like sort of UX feedback from seeing you name the color. I forgot to mention like every color has a one of one name as well. So
Love it.
no two colors can have the same name. And so you had typed in, I think, JT space emerald space green,
Yeah.
and then you realized there was no spaces, so you did underscore, then you realized there was no underscore, so I maybe could make that error message like a little better somehow. But
That's all good.
You got through
I
it.
think-
And
hey,
you got
look-
through it while listening to me somehow. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's this is how this show works. can JT not screw it up? That's the goal of the show. Anytime we interact with projects, it's like, can this guy do it? I'm about to be a mid-century guy soon. So if I can do it, any plebe can do it too. I figured it out.
That's great.
I got it. I got a base color now. Thank you.
Nice.
I'll call my mom after the show. Let her know.
There we go. Well, congrats on your color. And in regards to the purpose, argument, I think that I mean I totally agree. You do need sort of like a unified purpose, and perhaps some like sort of explicit explicit sort of like expression of like values and principles, if not some implicit, or maybe the explicit comes from the implicit over time. My TLDR on all of this is that in an effort to have the collection be as fundamental and non-arbitrary as possible, I would prefer to do things slowly or late than early and wrong. And that's very different from how I build, like, for example, qrcoin.fun. But the reason is that I think like you kind of have one shot to do the base colors collection right. And naturally with 16 million supply, it's going to be like a very long-term thing that I would hope can grow sort of alongside me over time. And so I don't know the answer on sort of like purpose yet. But I mean, I certainly have ideas. Like whatever it ultimately would be is probably something that I already know is like sort of important to me or important to the community. We've got on the order of like 30,000, 40,000 colors minted. Most of them were within the 6 months post-launch, and then it's slow drip since then. But yeah, I think over time that should definitely emerge. My next thing in my head is like taking this step to basically innovate on NFT liquidity in a way that I think is clever and somewhat uniquely enabled by the base colors collection. And that's sort of like a sprint that I have in mind to do at some point in the future. I hope that I do it. I don't know for sure that I will, but I hope that I will. And I think that could sort of drive another leg of momentum, potentially a lot bigger than the first one. And from there on, maybe the purpose of the whole thing becomes more apparent.
Base colors. When let's rewind conversation. What year did you do base colors?
2024, summer of 2024.
So now we can say almost 2 years old or right around there, depending. So what followed then, was that qrcoin.fun or was there another project?
QR was next. So
let's talk
I've been working
QR.
on base colors. Yeah, I've been working on base colors for 5 or 6 months. And basically, because like, sometimes you can launch an NFT collection and just leave it. And there's not much to do. In the case of base colors, I thought it was pretty important to like sort of paint a picture of what was possible. So like collaborating with artists and having them where like a percentage of their mint proceeds went to like the owners of the colors used in their art. And like you can think of this as like an artist can sort of tap into the base colors community to get some support if they're like a no-name artist by saying like, hey, we're sharing a percentage of proceeds with the owners of the colors used in the art. And there's two ways, like there's another version of that where you try to make like some closed system where like there's a tax that like is paid to, and like that's not good. Like you don't want to have anything like that, but something that's opt-in where whoever's sharing profits with color owners is sort of incentivized to do so by the fact that they would get like support from the community or something, like where it's win-win, I think is pretty cool. And also doing things like showing how you could have the base colors, you can have like a sort of a contract that controls the UX such that any crypto app or really website that allows you to connect your wallet, the app creator of the app could give users the ability to like configure their UX custom to base colors that they own. A bunch of sort of things like that. We did one collab that was like it generated a 7-band like you can picture like 7 vertical bars that are each a different color, and they're in a square together, so like a 7-band square.
Mhm.
Each band is a different color, and it was actually a one-of-one soul-bound NFT minted to you according to your ETH address. So
Oh,
if you
wow.
cut your ETH address into, you can cut it into 7 pieces of 6, and the only characters that are not
Interesting.
like hex code characters are the 0 and the X at the front. So we randomly we randomly generated the first 2 characters, which is basically like the red value of the first band. But every other band was like, and even that band really like, again, sort of like a very non-arbitrary thing where you could actually look at a square with 7 colors in it. It kind of looks like the base colors logo, but that's only 6. It's not actually affiliated with what I'm talking about. But it looks like that. And so you could actually take the image and take like an eyedropper and find the hex codes of the 7 bands and reverse engineer someone's ETH address. So anyway, kind of like, nerdy and whatever and in weeds, but I thought that was pretty cool. So we basically spent 5 or 6 months like doing some things. And then I sort of realized, the momentum had slowed down, and I was like, the best thing to actually do for base colors is probably just for me to do other things and try to grow my personal brand and become more successful such that this NFT collection could sort of grow alongside me. And then I could do that other sprint that I mentioned at some point in the future and, whatever. And so, are we good there? Should I move on with QR?
Yeah, if you'd like.
It's however you want to spend the time, really.
Yeah.
But
You want to move to
Um,
QR?
Yeah, sure. So
Let's do it.
it was after those like 5 or 6 months. But I was kind of looking for what was next. And at the time, Clanker had come out. This was like probably late 2024 that Clanker came out. Early 2025, I sort of on a whim clanked a token called qrcoin by just writing, putting a cast in the feed on Farcaster. You just, for those who don't know, you just, put out a post like you do a tweet on Twitter, but on Farcaster, you tag @Clanker and tell it to launch a token with a ticker and a name and whatever image. And it would do that. And so people were doing these, some people were doing them quite casually, some people were doing them for like legit projects, whatever. This for me, as silly as it sounds, was actually like I sort of had this idea that, it would be cool if a token had an image that was like a QR, so it could like actually redirect to something different, or redirect to, that it could be functional at all. But then I thought it would be really cool if it could actually redirect to different things, because I basically thought that, I looked at all these tokens, they all go to 0, even quote unquote success, and they don't go to literally 0, but they basically hit some peak and then they die. And more times than not, that peak is around launch because it's hard to get as much attention at another time as a project does at launch. And so it's like this. I thought that it was basically a result. The question was basically, why do all coins die? And as far as I could tell, the answer was that attention is fleeting. You can't hold people's attention on one thing in perpetuity. And so how do you fix that? Well, what if you change the thing? What if you change the thing every day? And so that sort of brought me to thinking of something like the nouns auction, where the original QR auction was a fork, very simple fork of the nouns, where instead of winning a piece of art and membership in a community, you win control of the QR for a day, such that the QR will point to whatever link you want it to point to. And so we forked the nouns. We've since made a number of changes where I actually think we've innovated on auctions in a non-trivial way that I'm pretty pleased with. But the core concept is like, can we make a coin that never dies by having it be more so a means for attention than the end of it? And sort of the tunnel that we're driving, if you can sort of become the thing that's the road for attention to a different thing every day, naturally you're going to compound attention over time. And obviously it's going to take some time. The whole thing is time-based. So like the whole thesis is very time-based. And so it's going to take some time to see if that thesis, a lot of times a thesis will make sense in practice, but it doesn't play out. Or sorry, it'll make sense in theory, but it doesn't play out in practice. I think the jury is still out basically on how, if this will work and to what degree it will work. But But roughly speaking, in what's been a very, very difficult market for basically any token on Base, and I mean, you guys know, like even Ethereum hasn't really had, it's down 60% from all-time high, and Solana ecosystem is very similar. Like it's been a tough time for a lot of things in terms of crypto prices. And so we're down from an all-time high market cap of around 7.5 to we're down 90% basically. And like, so you can easily call that dying, but I'm super tapped in and I look at everything else in the ecosystem and there's a heck like, we sort of, if you look at like the top coins launched via Clanker, for example, like we've held our relative position despite that 90% decline,
Right.
better than like almost any other project. And so it's crazy when, you're trying to build a token that doesn't die and you're down 90%, and it might be delusional to think that you may have still actually built a token that doesn't die. But I do think, despite like recognizing that might be delusional, I do think based on the relative sort of persistence of it, that might be the case. So because I don't know, it's too early to tell. But I could talk about anything else that, I think that's a good primer.
Just a quick interjection on the down 90%. I mean, Bitcoin has been down 90%. Amazon stock has been down 90%. It's all about keeping the band together. And and you've got some tokenomics built into this that I hope you'll expand on, that'll kind of illustrate why certain tokens may die, but ones that have at least some basic utility always survive. It's just it's just a cyclic thing with any industry, and just because it goes to 90%, that's just, some view it as like pure opportunity long term. Yeah. So we know the coins that go 90%, if they're just strictly always was and always will be a meme, those are the fleeting eyeballs that is just, it always looks so clear in hindsight why something got super popular for the moment, but it's also equally clear in hindsight why it died, right? Yeah. And as long as you have some built-in functionality of the token, which it seems you do here with QR, it'll always have something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's a helpful perspective to hear. Obviously, I'm living and breathing it every day, and it's just it's pretty brutal to And I know that the product is actually pretty objectively better. Like I know that the product is better. And even, the revenue is solid. Like, have we had higher auctions than today? Yes. But like it's holding up strong. It could be different if we had auctions going for $12 or, no bids or whatever. But like the product is working. We're driving attention every day. And it's just been a very difficult market. And the goal, I think, is to survive until we get to either some lucky break or a better market or another breakthrough in what we're doing. And recently, 2 days ago, we launched an iOS app. So that was like a huge milestone that we were working towards for a very long time. QR has been the number one mini app. Like on Farcaster, there's a ranked mini apps leaderboard based on usage and opens and transactions and things like that. And QR has been number one for, more than any other mini app since it launched about a year ago. And like, just to, even 10 months after launch, when this year started, like, cause now we're in months like 11 and 12 in 2026. For this year, whatever it's been, like, I don't know the exact number. It's been like whatever, 60 days in the year so far. QR has probably been number one on the leaderboard for like 45 days, something like that. So like, it's like dominant as a mini app on Farcaster, but Farcaster is a very small network still.
Sure.
And so the reason the iOS app, was such an important milestone for us is because we found a system that we think works in terms of how we're driving attention to the winner every day. And basically, TLDR is people can, in exchange for checking out the winner every day, you can claim a small amount of QR as like sort of a micro payment, like a micro incentive to, reward your attention. And so if you think about it like this, let's see this, this bid is for 151.
Yeah,
If they were to
take
win,
us through this. Let's rewind. Just rewind for a second. What is it, first of all, that I'm looking at? And then
sure.
And then let's go through step by step, because I think I'm logged in on the site already. I'm happy to engage with it, and just kind of that way we can show people.
Yeah, sure. So this is fun. What you're looking at fundamentally is a daily auction for attention.
Okay.
And so all of these bids on the leaderboard, you can see the title of the link itself, and the name of the bidder, right? So the top one looks to be a Substack. You see the bid board over there? Yeah.
Yep.
So the top bid is a Substack article called How to Build the 21st Century something. And the bidder is someone called Abundance DAO on X.
Okay.
And they've bid, their current bid is $151 and if they win, the QR will redirect to that link all day for 24 hours once this auction is done. This auction just started, so it'll be done in 22 hours. But the current winner from yesterday's auction is that Adverse on the
down
left.
Here.
Yeah, so they were the high bid.
Okay, and if I click on that.
Yeah, so we're now driving the QR. You can literally scan it and it will go to this. The QR also is an on-chain, like it's fully on-chain.
Oh, wow.
And if you scan it, it will go to Adverse today, and it'll go to something else tomorrow, based on the winner of the auction that's ongoing now. But scanning a QR isn't something that's practically useful for digital to digital movement. It's useful for physical to digital or device to device. And so while the possibility to compound physical distribution where there's QR codes and stickers all over the world, if you click the globe towards the top there.
Okay.
This is a glimpse into the potential for the physical aspect of the project. It's not something we're focused on now because it's much easier to grow faster, cheaper on, digitally. But if you click into one of these, you'll see people have put QR stickers around the world, and you can upload it and verify with your ETH address that was you if you want. If you are concerned about privacy, you can just upload it anonymously. And so this map, you could imagine being littered with, QR images verifying that a QR is posted physically somewhere around the world, whether it's a sticker or a billboard or whatever it might be.
And so when you hit that QR with your phone, geospatial data is uploaded from the camera to the site to verify the location, so it shows up on the map. And this QR code here is the same QR code that's around the world that always points to this the winner every day.
Yeah.
And then as long as your project is getting any kind of bids, so what the added bonus is, all of these people are getting attention just because they're on their leaderboard. It's not celebrating the champion at the top of the mountain. It's celebrating the whole mountain. If you go to the site. Interesting. Okay.
But the QR will never scan to our site unless someone wins to point
it goes
to our
straight
site,
to their site.
It goes straight to them. So that's why it's important. If you look at the QR itself around the border, it says the QR code points to a different website every day. It's part of a cryptocurrency project called qrcoin. Learn more at qrcoin.fun. Otherwise, you could see these QRs in the real world and you would have no idea you would just think it's a regular QR to whatever site it goes to that day. You would have no idea that it's changing. You would have no idea, no way to find about qrcoin.fun. So we need to sort of actually kind of, it's kind of counterintuitive, but we have to put the website link on the image. Otherwise, no one would know about it. But nonetheless, we obviously, with Twitter and everything, we're spreading digitally first. I don't even pay attention to how many people scan it. Literally, it doesn't matter. The vast majority of traffic is coming from digital to digital today. And the way that we're basically driving it is through micropayments, which are only possible on, they're possible on Base. They could be possible on other low fee, chains or L2s. We pay people a very small amount of money as a reward for checking out the winner every day. Ideally, we can do that dynamically based on the quality of the user as well. So trying to understand the quality of the attention. So if I can get you to click, to check out the winner of the day every day, like you have valuable attention. You obviously, you just bought a base color. You're willing to buy a token. You're willing to interact with like things on chain, and like you're obviously very real, like compared to like a low quality person or like a bot. And so I would want to reward you more. And if I can do things to verify that you're a quality user, I can pay you more and sort of have this dynamic micro reward that's daily, that builds a daily habit. And the sort of the basic idea is like get paid to discover something new every day. That's like the pitch to a user, right?
Yeah,
The
the
pitch to a
serendipity aspect is very similar to Reddit or something, but because there's money involved in it, it's most likely to be things like advertisements that people are less likely to just want to get a random advertisement every day. That said, are you familiar with there's another project that we had in the podcast called Poid, Sensor Pixar, it didn't happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you could take maybe five rewards of $1 per day and be like, go and take this QR code and stick it somewhere new in the US, right? And take a picture of where you post the QR code, and we'll give you a dollar for helping to spread the physical distribution aspect of this.
Right. Yeah, we did a point actually at some point. Like if you search QR, it might come up. But yeah, there's a lot more we can do in the physical world. Like we have the map as sort of a we have the map to sort of like I want to tease the real world stuff. I want to show what's possible, but it's just me, and it's most of the time it's been just me and one dev, and I need to ruthlessly prioritize what I think is the most important thing to do all times, and so I just haven't really gotten to it yet. But yeah, I'm it's the QR makes it. First of all, I think it's just like a way
This
better
is so
meme.
cool.
Yeah, I think it's just like a way better meme. But second of all, like if it was just like linkoftheday.com or something, like it doesn't have this physical component. And like there's only one, I don't know, I haven't looked at Dex Screener in a while, but there's no other significant QR coin in the world. So we've sort of similarly to how like I did base colors, and you sort of take this fundamental thing of colors and announce yourself as like the collection for it. And if you have a certain amount of success, you're actually sort of correct. Are you guys familiar with like how you can buy a star?
Yeah.
It's a similar
Sure.
sort of thing. Like at least I think of it as similar, like where the people who sell the stars don't own the stars. Like they've never been there. They created an institution that proclaimed that they like own the stars or whatever. I don't even know the exact details, but like
No,
eventually,
they just created a registry and you're buying space in the registry. Obviously, there's nothing
exactly.
related to the star there. It's just you own this slot in the registry.
Exactly.
Congratulations.
So the colors thing is somewhat I mean it's a little different when you put it that
Well,
way,
there's,
it
there's
sounds
nothing stopping someone else from making a different colors registry with basically the
exactly.
same rules, but different monetization rules and trying to fight you for that community space
Yeah,
if they want to. It's the same
exactly.
idea. It's the registry.
Exactly. And so sort of different, but kind of similarly with the QR, like the QR is a fundamental thing that everyone knows. And I actually it's funny, like if I go to a restaurant for lunch or something and like they've got,
Same guy.
the QR they've got the QR like menu, like I'll like ask for physical. Like I actually sort of dislike QRs in their boring use cases. But if you like think about it, it's just like it is a pretty cool technology. Like it's very elegant. Like you scan something with your phone and you are pointed to a digital location.
Yeah, so
Um,
I mean it's like it removes the OCR kind of component. It's a machine readable format that's in the physical world, right?
right. And
Uh,
so the fact that this is like, the only QR based coin right now, I think that like to me that's a pretty cool meme compared to again like just something that's totally arbitrary. I do want to go back to one thing you said about how being on the bid board is sort of advertising in and of itself.
Yeah.
Um, we created, this was one of the innovations I mentioned on auctions where there's really two big ones, but the one that's relevant to what you said is like, you see that auto button there,
Yes.
top right? Yeah. So if you click that, this I actually need to rewrite, but if you click that, basically, ordinarily, if you place a bid on an auction without clicking auto bid, if you lose the auction, you get your money back at the end. So to your point earlier, if you look at Bazaar Bounce, the second link, right?
Yeah.
This guy, anyone who, if you were to click it right now, that's like sort of one user's worth of attention that they're getting. And at the end of this auction, assuming the bid board stays the same and he doesn't win, he's not the highest bid, he gets his full bid back. So there's no cost. I mean, there's a tenth of a penny on base or whatever it is for gas.
So if I actually physically click on it here,
you'll go to it.
Okay. I'm going to hit.
We just have that as a warning.
Yeah, I understand. And
obviously you just clicked it, so it won't go again. But yeah, so like this attention that he's getting now, he's being featured on a podcast, right? And like everyone who's looking, like, and this is all at the end of this auction, he's not the highest bidder. He gets his full bid money back, so it's free advertising. And then if you click auto bid, instead of getting your money back at the end of the auction, your bid is just reapplied, and that doesn't cost any gas. We cover the gas there, so you pay the one-time gas for the original bid, and we're able to reapply your bid every day until you either win or cancel. If you cancel, your bid is not applied to the next auction, and you get the money back like you would if you didn't do an auto bid in the first place. And so one thing that I think is really interesting is like this bid board could become much more dynamic over time, where like people are basically putting an auto bid on for a lower amount that they know is like not going to win anytime soon. And they can just hang out on the bid board auction after auction for people who are curious to go to the site. And they're basically putting a deposit in, like where the money is locked up for a little while, as long as they have their spot. But there's no cost as long as if they never end up winning an auction. So I think that's like sort of a pretty cool element. And what it does for us is it gives us, a number of bids that are being applied every day, so that we don't have to restart from zero every day. And the way that we came up with this feature was we had a couple of people who were doing this. They built it for themselves. They built bots that would place a bid automatically every day. And I was like, all right, there's a couple of people who have done this. It's great because they're sort of setting a floor by bidding right at the beginning of every auction. What if we can make this a user accessible feature that anyone can place an auto bid? And so that was pretty important, I think.
Yeah, that was smart, because it's like when they play in a university grounds, they don't put sidewalks in yet. They just let people walk however, and then they put the sidewalks in. So it's kind of like that was the right play for you guys. Like, you noticed what the traffic wanted to do, and then you just made it easier for anyone to deploy. That
a lot of
same
games
strategy.
will do the same thing, right? They'll have mods, and they'll see like, well, let's just see what the most common mods are, and then add some of those features to the base game.
Feature.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I really like that sort of like philosophy for building. And I have an image that comes to mind from your college campus example that I've seen that's like pretty cool, with like the unpaved, like the wear and tear of the ground, and then like they pave over it or whatever.
That's it.
And like another one that I forget where I heard this, but there was something about like in the early days of building LinkedIn, there was this like surprise in the data where they thought like something was wrong. And they were like, this can't be right. And like what it turned out was that, because the point of LinkedIn was like to connect with people. Like you'd think you'd like look at people's profiles and message people or whatever. And they were seeing that like the most common profile people were looking at was their own. And they were like, there's got to be like sort of a bug here. Oh. And they basically discovered like it's a vanity thing. Like we need to make it maxed out for people to be able to like optimize their profile, because actually, even though there's a place to connect, all people really care about is like how they look.
Yeah, fair.
So I think there's a lot of interesting
that makes
stories
sense.
like that.
Just look at the number of filters on Snapchat and TikTok and all that crap too. It's
very human.
Very human. Well, all right. So what if I type in, let's just do something, dailydoots.com/podcast. I believe that's us. And then what can I do from here? I would connect the wall is connected.
You should be connected. You just enter an amount.
All right. Well, let's get on the leaderboard at least. Let's go $175. Why not?
Careful there.
That'll win.
Careful there. You don't want to fat finger the $2,000 bid. We have had multiple $1,000 bids. The highest.
Right now, you want to be around 149, J2. That way, we're visible on there without spending any money.
Let me give you a warning though, because I think this is the other interesting aspect in addition to auto bidding.
Hold on, can I interrupt you? If I start this, other people can do it also, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was going to say. Group bidding is,
I'll do 100.
The most powerful.
Just to start it. Okay, keep going. Do you want me to do this now, or do you want to riff?
No, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
You're crazy.
I'm not crazy. Auto bid temporarily unavailable. Please try again.
That's not good.
If I take off auto bid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Make it Let me see if I do.
Sure,
Yes.
that's
No, just do without.
We'll
That's
do with
pretty
that.
bad.
No, only for this auction. Okay.
Well, you're not winning that one. So you're just buying day space on the whatever list.
Yeah, I just want to see it work.
Okay.
I like making things happen, man. It's small joy in
Yeah.
life. Here we go.
Yeah.
Lattice 1, not a sponsor. Okay.
Your 170 would have failed too because you only have 140 in the wallet.
Oh, perfect. All right. So now I'm bidding, and it says waiting for approval. There's a second signature here, which is the create bid.
Kaboom.
Kaboom. Signing request comes over. All the data looks good. And okay.
I'm just noting that bug internally. It might be a platform thing.
I'm on Brave
but-
if that matters.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's, if you're watching this on X, I'm going to exit out to you. I mean, tweet it out to you. There we go. So if you want to sweeten the pot there and help me spend my money, you can do that. And then I'll get on the old Farcaster here.
Nice.
And we'll queef it out to the universe there. And
This is the first time I'm hearing these action verbs for either network.
So these are not normal things. JT is not a normal guy.
this is just welcome to my world. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So
Well, you kind of just did like the golden path there. That was nice.
Okay.
Placed the bid, tweeted, casted.
Twisted. Now I'm going to put it on the Restream chat with the link there that probably shows up somewhere. Looks like Discord's broken. I'm going to put this in the Doots podcast chat, I think, it looks like Ben Broad just joined in on the bid. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Here we
Yeah.
go. All
B
right.
Broad is a QR OG. I would be remiss not to mention. And he's won some auctions. He's joined some auctions. He's held some coin, and then he facilitated this podcast. So shout out
He
Ben
sure
Broad.
did. All right, there we go. So we are on the leaderboard at spot number 10. Myself threw in a bit, Ben threw in a bit, little tippy tip there, and away we go. And I got an LOL from somebody on YouTube. Shout out to our viewers on YouTube for the LOL. Appreciate it. I always take a good laugh. I like it. Excellent. Well, proof in the project. We did it. We did it live.
We've got the group bid underway.
Yeah, the group bid underway. We've exited out. We went on Farcaster. We queefed it to the universe. It is away and launched. So, and then we could check back in tomorrow, like do the same thing again if we want. And then, like you said with the auto bid, remind me again. So I put in 100 USDC. I'm on the leaderboard. I don't win. It comes back. Or it can be auto, if the auto bid thing was working.
Auto bid would forward it to the next auction.
Forward it
but
to the next auction.
In this case, that wasn't working. So
Right.
at the end of the auction, you'll get your money back, less gas.
Excellent. And Ben Broad says shout out to you, Jake. So thanks for the nod on that. And then looks like YouTube comment. Thanks, Jake. The EVMavericks. I'm glad I learned more about Jake and the team. Speaking of team, is this the team of Jake, or do you have a crew of people to help you out?
I've had one main developer for the majority of the project. I've got another one right now who is working on the iOS app specifically, and then have had a few contributors here and there for short periods of time, but primarily like sort of my main developer, and then the guy who's working on the iOS app now had done some other things for periods of time before, and like I said, some other folks have chipped in. But yeah, shout out to the main dev, the scoho.eth, I think is his, or it might just be the scoho on Farcaster, and then SEC Gov on Farcaster is working on the iOS app.
I wonder if there's a way of embedding the winner in a frame so that you can display some stuff about you, like this link will be different every day, and have a kind of like Reddit scroll feed of the past winners on a side panel or something. So people, like, they scan the QR code. Other than that outside boundary, as you said, there's nothing here indicating that it's not just that's going to change the next day.
Right.
And I don't know that everyone's going to read that outside boundary.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if there's a
a way of, like that on your chain or on the page right here, there's that little bar that says on-chain attestation machine. Could you carve out a piece of browser space in order to say, what this is, right? And
Yeah,
give
I mean,
some
we've got
indication
like
that's the same every day.
yeah, we've got the very small like same QR. I actually think it's a little better on mobile. It's a little more pronounced. Like it's same QR, new website every day. Win the auction to choose where it points next. Yeah, we could definitely be more descriptive and make those descriptions more prominent for sure.
A way
There's a
of
whole
making it
about
more prominent without just taking up attention
yeah,
is to display a list of the previous winners down like a sidebar or something. So you can
yeah,
just scroll down and see all the previous winners. That simultaneously increases value for every bid that has made it. And it gives users a clear like, oh, what are all these other ones? Oh, okay, I get it, right? Without
yeah.
having to read your text.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've got the winners page. I haven't actually thought of putting it like up at the top there with the trophy. I haven't thought of actually like just sort
I'm
of
not even talking
promoting it
about
so that
this page though. I'm talking about when someone scans the QR code, the page that
oh,
comes up, rather than just being
oh,
their
oh,
URL, could be an embedded frame that tells
right,
you what the heck this thing is that they just scanned. That's not just the end web page, but that this QR code will result in a different web page every day. How do you get that
right,
across to users more clearly? I think
right,
you
right.
use an embedded frame and you eat up some of the page space as innocuously as you can to to highlight the previous winners and like a tagline for the project somehow.
Yeah, that is interesting. I didn't realize that's what you meant. I'd thought about that a long time ago. I haven't thought of it much since. But I do think that's very interesting. You basically like dress up the page such that it's dual function, like it's
As
still pointing to the
innocuously as
winner.
you can. You
Yeah,
still want people to want to buy it because it's their page space that they're buying, but
right.
you do want people that scan it to have some idea what it is and without having to read that ring around the QR code because they're just going to say like, what is this? They'll pull out their phone and scan it. They might not read anything else, right? They're going to just say like, okay, I guess the point of this is the QR code. Let's see it, right? So
What was the technical term you used for that?
embedding.
Embedded frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's a fart idea I got. Make every month produce an image that uses anywhere from 28 for the month of February up to 31 colors, and
Hmm.
every winner buys an available base color that then becomes a mosaic image like of 28 to 30 colors of some
There's
thing
probably
that
like
becomes a
100.
one-off NFT
I
that
was gonna
is
say there's
awarded.
probably so the QR codes can you can dress up those black boxes and different things.
Yeah.
There's probably a way of turning those black boxes into blue boxes and red boxes, et cetera, while still allowing it to be machine readable in order
Yeah.
to promote it. But this feels like you're stretching for cross promotion, JT.
I
Yeah.
am listen. You produce a piece of art every month that goes to one of the winners of the month. They receive 28 to 31 base colors in a wallet and the NFT. It's kind of a bonus. Just a little bonus giveaway thing. I don't know. Just fart. I'm just
If I wanted to do more with the base colors, I would go the Octant style route, where they come together and say, okay, we're going to promote the arts or something. We're going to find some benefactor. They're going to dedicate ETH staking proceeds or some other source of money is going to be streamed to a governance thing. And then a collection of art enthusiasts are going to decide which are the projects that are worth supporting and how much, right?
yeah.
I would just kind of rip off the Octant model if you can find a source of funds and then rally the base colors community around something like that. But that's just, that's just me.
I was just thinking if you got 31 auction winners a month, one of those wallets that's a winner is going to receive the NFT of the picture plus the colors themselves as a thank you for participating. And it's kind of like it's a 1 in 31 chance that you're a winner. But if you're it's not nothing. It'd be a one-off NFT plus all the base colors to go with it. I'm just thinking of like kicking in, like spicing up the gift of the month. I don't know. I'm just riffing. Probably unproductive at this point to keep talking.
I'm listening. I like sensible, cross pollination, but I dislike forcing it when it's my own project.
I
So
get
there's
you.
sort of there's a balance, especially if it's my
100%.
own project. Like I'm not going to force a collab with a project that's not
100%.
mine and my own. But if it's mine, like I might, so I need to be sort of like extra rigid, I feel like.
Well, and it's also like, hey, just tell me what the price of the thing is. Don't shave off, money for charity I didn't ask for.
Right.
Yeah, this is neat. Jake, what else? What else is in the cooker with you?
What else? Nothing comes to mind. I mean, this is I'm
The
sort of waking
iOS
up
app,
and
we should say, right?
yeah,
Can you
iOS
give
app.
us a 50,000-foot view of what that is, so people that own iPhones or iPads even can manipulate this entire project on their iPhone instead of a desktop?
Yeah, so
Got it.
you can go to the regular app store on iPhone and download the QR app. If you search $QR, it should come up near the top. It's sometimes has trouble actually on. We'll see if you can find it, but it can have trouble on
Yeah.
web.
Yeah, that went the wrong place. Sorry.
Yeah, but if you go to
Let's just
Yeah,
go
if you
to
go there,
apps.apple. Okay. $.
and you search $QR, there you go on the top left.
Right at the top. There you go.
Yeah, and so it's the same concept as our mini app. The web doesn't have this, but basically, as I mentioned earlier, you open the app, you see, you basically have an offer right away to check out the winning link from the last auction and claim the little QR as like a micro reward. And so you click the link, you check it out. If you're not interested, you go back to the app. If you are interested, you poke around and engage maybe or whatever, and then come back to the app, claim a little QR, and that's it. It's just, super low touch thing. We're not trying to keep you, eyes on the screen for 4 hours a day or something like that. It should be a very quick daily habit. And 9 days out of 10 or 19 days out of 20, you might have no interest in the link, but once in a while you might, and you're sort of stacking a little bit of QR all the time. And we've had a bunch of examples. Obviously, this has attracted a crypto native audience to start, given that we've got the coin and everything. We've got a bunch of examples of people bidding to win the auction and winning the auction to drive attention to a new project that's come out or something, and that project has a token. And if you had just sort of been paying attention to the QR, you would have known about it. And then it goes, vertical or whatever. As we discussed earlier, most tokens die eventually, but you can be, you can sort of like find alpha. And even if it's not like monetary of buying a token or something, you can just, find a cool project early. You can find builders like the guy who's behind Punk Strategy. If you guys are familiar with that, Rhinotic is the builder. I discovered him through QR. He was the runner-up on our very first auction, and then he won a handful of auctions. He was like our winningest bidder for a little while. And so, I've discovered a number of people. He's I think a pretty special builder, but a number of really cool builders I've discovered, or artists or whatever, through these auctions. And so, as with anything, you click on a random link, it's not going to be good every time, but you can at least check something new. And for me, like I felt like, I used to not really be that tapped into like what's going on, what's new on chain. And since building this, like I'm like super tapped in. Like I see everything that comes up. And obviously, it's not just from the QR, but the QR certainly helped like sort of immerse me in it. And yeah, so that's sort of the basic. I rambled a little bit, but basic action is open the app, check out.
Come hop in our
new.
Subreddit and immerse yourself in what's going on chain a bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. And so people can go to shop.qrcoin.fun and pick up some stickers. Looks like free shipping worldwide. Place those stickers wherever. Zap it with your phone. You could prove that you were at a place on the planet that viewed the website of the day. Get paid a little bit of QR for doing so. Am I getting this right?
Yeah. Well, so I missed the last part. The stickers you can't earn for anything, right? But you put them on the map, and then separately you can earn from the app.
Right, separately.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I mean. So
stickers on the map earn from the app.
Got it. Very cool. I like it, man. It's always fun to try to figure out new ways to engage eyeballs and produce a product out there in the crypto native space. And people got to vote with their dollar, Don't just sit around waiting for somebody else to build it. Either build it yourself or participate in the ecosystem and build that way. So supporting developers, something that the EVMavericks pride ourselves on. And Jake, if there's any other thoughts that you may have, we can let you go. It's been a good almost 90 minutes. I don't want to take up all of your day. And I still got to read Reddit, so you don't have to.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything. It's been an awesome conversation, and how often, I gotta ask, do like the Mavericks go on like sort of secondaries? Like, is most of the community still the OGs who got it on merit, or do a lot of people buy their way in?
There's 1,000 unique holders. I can't tell you what the original turnover rate, but there was probably pull a number out of my ass, but probably at least 25% to 40% turnover in the first month. But even right now, there's 1,000 unique holders out of 1,324 NFTs, which is a pretty good distribution.
Yeah, and less so like even the distribution, but just to have a large number of those 1,000 be the OGs who earned it basically is pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know which of these has any activity on them, just from the market stats, but
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least like 500 or 600 of the original.
Can we see your guys before we go?
Yeah, sure. You can look at mine. It's on LogrisTheBard.eth.
Mine's on my X handle. I've got a few of them. But yeah, it looks like the floor right now is about 0.27 ETH. I think
It was definitely down around like 0.1 or below once upon a time during the deep bear market. I mean, ETH at the time was like, 1,400 or something. So like it has done decently well in that regard. Someone came and scooped up the floor once upon a time, and now it's been sitting around this like 0.25 level, 0.4 level for a while.
That floor guy's pretty cool with the crown and the eye patch.
Yeah, I love them. I think they're fantastic. Shout out to who was it? Oh, come on, what's his name? He's not Ether Raider. Ether Raider is the original OG of this.
Made all the characteristics, all the actual art. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. And the Mavericks are a hell of a community. One of the nicest compliments we get is like when we have guests on, they're like, "Oh, this is you guys." Like,
yeah, I've seen those lions around. Yeah.
I've seen those lions around on X, and they always seem to be kind of level-headed. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, for Redditors, we're a rare breed to be level-headed. But yeah, it's very good, man. Very good. Well, Jake, it's been a pleasure, man. You don't have to go. You can stay if you want to. This is part of the lore of the EVMavericks too. We do this almost weekly show. Sometimes we have to skip now and again, but part of the cool thing that we do that really makes us unique is we celebrate our contributors each and every week with what we call the Doots. And the Doots are curated by a friend of ours, Tricky Troll, who goes through the previous daily and makes a cliff notes at the top of the page of what was happening in the previous daily. So Superfizz stopped by, and then so on and so forth. And they're all linked together. And then what I do is I go through and I award everybody a point. It's all done by hand, every bit of it. And then we have our weekly Dudes, which is curated by the A Word. And he comes up with the top comments of the past week and puts them into a list. And then I read that as part of the show to end off the show after we talk to our guests. But as of right now, we have 1,301 duders have made the list at least one time. And on our rich list here, you can see some people have been on there several times. And so it's all done by hand. It's a very human thing. And we just celebrate the people that hang out in the daily general discussion on Reddit, our Ethereum. And that's our home.
Very cool. Well, impressive community for sure. I had my putting the Lions together with the community moment a while ago, I think through Ben Broad, but it is cool. I wasn't aware of all of the intricacies, so it's been cool to learn about some of it. And yeah, appreciate you guys having me on again.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to stick around, that's great. If you need to make an Irish goodbye, you can do that as well.
All right, I'm gonna Irish. I got a call in 3 minutes, but appreciate you guys having me, and hopefully we'll talk more in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That is our friend Jake from QR. You need to check out qrcoin.fun and jump in there and bid on some auction items, or even promote one of your own URLs and have the QR code point to you each and every day if you want to go spend some money there. And likewise, you can pick up those stickers and get them out into the world. Looks like pretty happening in certain parts of the world. I think I might pick me some up myself. Try to put Kansas on the map, Dorothy.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great day. All right. The Weekly Doots live stream is all about showcasing the best of the best from the weekly or the daily general discussion on our Ethereum. This is a read-along reaction series, and if you want to follow along, head to dailydoots.com, designed and produced by Hani Abu. Big thanks to Tricky Troll for capturing and curating each day's Doots, and the A Word for curating this most beloved weekly list. Make sure you subscribe to us on all your favorite platforms by visiting dailydoots.com. And as always, if you know someone who wants a piece of this action, send them my way. I got ETHWave. ETHWave is here, but I don't know if you're wanting to jump up or chime in here in a little bit, but you can make your way up to the microphone if you're around. If you're not, it's no big deal, because we're going to let you shout out Grow the Pie as well. All right, well, let's just get on the rich list for this week. Aiden Cairo at 118 in 10th place. Ethical Trade at 119. Crypto Wild Currency at 135. Hani Abu at 130. Also at 135. JS Tears at 146. Tricky Troll 172. Benito 2030 at 180. Superfizz at 242. LogrisTheBard getting a point going up to 256. And Harog is at 320 for this week. Moving on. I got all my stuff backwards up here. I apologize. Let's go to the overview here. We don't have the announcements up for this week. That's okay. Totally okay. A little out of sorts. My bad. I'm going to close these other threads real quick and go over to the podcast. All right. This is historical threads. Why am I messing this up? All right, here we go. Finally, my bad. Morning roundup. I may be slow. Username I may be slow. That's actually me too. Chimes in Ethereum. Alexis Kef at 2041 on the price. I think that has changed. Nothing Not Never has a ratio of 0.03. That also, I believe, has changed slightly. Weekly Haiku courtesy of JS Tears. AI on freelance. Step-by-step pattern advance. Vibe coding romance. There you go. And Ethereal News, if you want to check out the latest on Ethereal News. AB Kothup, fellow moderator, has the weekly number 13 is up, including information on the straw map, which is called the Strawman Roadmap. The Ethereum Foundation is going to stake 70,000 ETH and BNP Paribas tokenized fund. So you can check that out at Ethereal News, ethereal.news. There you go. Tons of different headlines, including latest gas prices and all the stuff. Our shit post of the week, because we always like to save the best for first. User Thin Yogurt 2615. Attention, all shorts, please increase your positions. I'm looking forward to effing you over on Monday with a face melting squeeze. Oh man, that is our ship post of the week. A Duder number 1 for the week. Congratulations, you made the weekly roundup. Now you too will be on the Doots rich list. That's fantastic. User Harog, top of the heap, recommends the ZK podcast mini series on Lean Ethereum, LEAN Lean Ethereum. The ZK podcast started a mini-series on Lean Ethereum. The 6-part mini-series consists of an introduction, post-quantum signature aggregation, post-quantum cryptography security, Lean virtual machine, DevNets, and then formal verification. 2 days ago, they announced it and released the first episode, the introduction to Lean Ethereum. It features Justin Drake and gives a brief overview on Lean Ethereum, and they dive quite deep into Lean VM. Lean VM is, as far as I understand, a very basic virtual machine which can do all the cryptographic calculations necessary to use it in all the different places where it will be needed in Ethereum, be it the consensus layer, execution layer, or blob verification. If you're looking to get more into how Ethereum changes in the coming years from a technical side, it is probably worth a listen. I do expect it to get pretty in-depth, so I do not expect me getting all the details, but I am looking forward to it. The link to the podcast is zeroknowledge.fm. If you want to jump on that, I will throw it in the chat. Very good. There we go. Nice. Ding, 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 ding. And moving on down, I got so many tabs open. User Astafari12 delivers us the latest on the Clarity Act. Astafari12 or Astafari 14 is a Deuter number 58. This is new. Per sources in the room, today's stablecoin meeting was smaller than last week and included reps from Coinbase, Ripple, A16Z, plus trade groups, Blockchain Association, and Crypto Council. No individual bank reps attended. Bank voices were represented via trade associations, such as ABA Bankers, Bank Policy, and ICBA. Public statements from attendees are once again being described as air quote productive and air quote constructive. But what does that actually mean? Sources say there was a notable difference today. The White House took the lead in driving the discussion, rather than letting crypto firms and bank trade steer the discussion, as in prior meetings. The White House Crypto Council Executive Director Patrick J. Witt brought draft text that served as the central focus of the conversation. The language acknowledged concerns the banks raised in last week's yield and interest prohibitions principles document, while making it very clear that any future restrictions on rewards would be narrow in scope. Earning yield on idle balances, a key crypto industry goal, is effectively off the table. The debate has narrowed to whether firms can offer rewards linked to certain activities. One crypto side attendee told me bank concerns appear to stem more from competitive pressures than from deposit flight, which had been framed as the original worry. A bank side source told me they're still pushing to include a deposit outflow study in the draft, one that would examine the growth of payment stablecoins and their potential impact on bank deposits. The same source said they were encouraged by proposed anti-evasion language that would give the SEC, Treasury, and CFTC authority to enforce a ban on paying yield on idle balances, with civil monetary penalties of $500,000 per violation per day. So what's next? Bank trade groups will brief their members on today's discussions and gauge whether there's room to compromise on allowing crypto firms to offer stablecoin rewards. One source said an end-of-the-month deadline doesn't seem unrealistic, with talks set to continue in the coming days. And this is according to X.com, Eleanor Terrett. Let's see. I think maybe we do get a deal, but it looks like unlikely yield will be included on idle deposits. I would take that any day of the week, as long as DeFi is not killed. Grow the Pie, I see you up here. ETHWave, are you well, my friend? Are you able to chat? Ooh, he unmuted. I think we're in luck here.
Hello.
How are you doing, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's cool to see that show that you just did with Jake. Nice to see that builders are still building. I'm going to slide into his DMs and get him to label his contracts so we can track his metrics for his apps on our site.
Hey, very cool.
Yeah,
nice.
Good stuff.
Good.
I'll quickly send a request to share my screen.
All right. Thank you very much. Allow. Very good. Let me cut the Okay, I got your. You should be able to. I'll stop my share. You start your share, and then we'll go from there.
1 second. I want to do it on that one. Cool. So yeah, normally I would go through like the recent all-time highs and things like that, but we are a little bit in a bear market right now, so there's less of those going on. So I'm going to focus today more on stuff that's being built. And one of the things that is being built all the time and is funded by Octant is public goods. And I know a lot of you guys are on Octant, so I think it's really important that you guys know that you need to migrate to version 2. So we've written a little quick bite here with some information on, but I'm also going to post on Reddit some more information so you guys know. It's a quick 4-step process, but I'll write it in more details so you guys can know what to do and feel like comfortable doing it, because you don't want to miss out on either getting your rewards or being able to share your rewards in future epochs. So
excellent.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to
bring
to your guys' attention. And then another quick bite that one of my colleagues, Lorenz, has done. I'm just going to tease this one because I actually would quite like to get Lorenz on this podcast, speaking with LogrisTheBard, because they're both quite technical and I think they'd work well together. But yeah, this is a quick bite on AI agents. You can see how they're being ranked, how many reviews they've got, and how many different reviewers have reviewed them, and the service endpoints that they provide. All sorts of cool metrics on here. Again, I'm just teasing this. Quite like you guys to dig in and read all about it, but also I think it'd be cool to get this on the podcast for sure.
Excellent.
Right.
Yeah, happy to have them on. That sounds exciting.
And then something that we've been building, like just in the background, like it's like a side feature, is we've updated our chart components. So now we can dynamically change the size of the tables compared to the charts. We've added weekly, for example, so more time frames. Hourly in particular, I think is quite interesting. So if I go down to maybe just select Cello here, you can see there's quite a clear pattern of usage, which you wouldn't be able to see in the daily. So breaking it down by hourly is quite cool. So yeah, we're just giving more options for our users and chain teams to be able to better understand how their chains are being used.
Why is there such a spike at different points of the day? Is it like a North America thing?
Yeah, we think this is geographic. There's also we're going to be doing this more on app level as well, potentially, because we think that different use cases might actually be more popular in different regions. And obviously one chain can have multiple use cases and multiple widely adopted apps, but they might be targeting slightly different audiences. So yeah.
Interesting.
Then looking at chain revenue and things like that, I actually think breaking down chain revenue into an hourly format is quite clever, because TPS has recently got quite popular because it's easy to understand smaller numbers than it is bigger numbers. So I think looking at revenue per hour is something that previously couldn't be done because of accounting. It was difficult to do that for companies. But comparing chains to chains, now you can do more in a real-time way, and each hour counts. And I really think this is something that might catch on going forwards, is our hourly comparisons here. Yeah.
Wow.
Other features we've got you can download image, you can get rid of the table completely if you just want to see a chart. So yeah, building loads of cool stuff, and particularly application metrics coming up. Hopefully at the end of this quarter, we'll have some really cool new application metrics for you guys.
Thank you so much. In the course of talking with you, and thanks for spurring on the conversation about migrating, I went ahead and migrated. It just took minutes. It didn't even take hardly 2 minutes. So if I go now, I've got everything on Octant 2 with my address, and it shows that I've got these tokens, 8,000 whatever tokens, and now I can go through, I guess, and figure out. I'll worry about this later, but I'll get everything locked up, and I'll look for grow the pie on there. Are you guys in this next round?
Yeah, we're further up near the top of that list. I think over there as well. Yeah.
There you are. Okay. Very good.
I think it's Epoch 11.
Yeah, and might be a bear market, but you still got some dollars you can throw into some tokens and contribute to the people that provide so much valuable data for the ecosystem. So hats off to you, my friend. Thanks so much for doing what you do out there. And thanks for coming on the show. And hopefully we'll see you next week too.
Thanks for having me, and I'll try and stop by more often.
No, it's all good, man. I know you're busy. You're over there across the pond. I get it. It's Friday, you know. You gotta go get some pints and some fish or whatever you do over there. I mean, we're good. Thank you so much, man.
Okay.
Hey, you can hang out too. You don't have to leave me. I'm just saying thanks. So there you go. I appreciate it. All right, moving on. Here we go. Astafari 14. Is this a double weekly shout out for Astafari 14? Looks like maybe. Delivers the latest on. Nope, I just read that. Okay. User Gore Wendis and user Herring Salat 100 compares the real tokenization to glorified database numbers. Let's see what this is about here. I want to find these folks on Reddit and shout out their scores. A Duder number 1 for Gore Wendis, and then Herring Salat 100 is a Duder number 32, it looks like. I think I said that right. Yeah. All right. Herring Salat 100 says, you can see how real world asset tokenization is going on this website. Let's go to that website and see what we're looking at here. Close these other tabs out to the right. Okay. All right. This is rwa.xyz, real world asset. Wow, look at that graph going from 2024 up to 2026. At this time in 2024, roughly, we were at 1.8 billion real world assets on chain. And now 2 years later, it is eclipsing 25 billion. And what do you think is going to go next? All right. So it looks like US Treasury does. Okay. If you're clicking on distributed, let's go to distributed. Let's say, yeah, distributed. Ethereum is at the top of the list with 14.7 billion, followed by BNB chain with just 2.3 billion and Solana with 1.7. Distributed, air quote, is what we would call an actual decentralized blockchain based on tokenization attempt. However, there is the option represented where the description includes using the blockchain as a record-keeping layer without enabling on-chain investor transfer or distribution. In this category, Canton wins at 341 billion. Wow. But remember, without enabling on-chain investor transfer. But seriously, what is even the point of that? Without on-chain transfers and distributions, this whole concept doesn't make sense. Which smart contracts am I supposed to use if on-chain transfers and distributions aren't allowed? This sounds like a bad joke. Gore Windus replies, that RWA.xyz data is really telling. The gap between distributed on Ethereum and represented, which is 14 versus 341 billion on Canton, is basically the gap between actual DeFi and just using a blockchain as a glorified spreadsheet. The Canton numbers are misleading because they count every asset that's been logged on a permission chain, even if you can't actually do anything with it on chain. No composability, no permissionless access, no smart contract interaction. At that point, you've just reinvented a database with extra steps. Ethereum's number is smaller, but it is real. Those are actual tokenized assets you can use in DeFi, lend against, trade permissionlessly, quantity versus quality, or quality versus quantity. Yeah, well said. Yeah, I want to look at that one more time just for me. Also, let me nuke the Zoom call. There we go. I'm going to exit out of the Zoom call and we're done with that. So the platforms, asset classes, real world assets table is interesting. Okay, here it is. Distributed versus represented. And yeah, there we go. Okay, interesting. Distributed Ethereum, there it is. Okay, I'll zoom in a bit here. So when you do distributed, right, this is the actual, mostly decentralized. Ethereum is the obvious decentralized. But if you go to represented, Canton, 94% of the market on a centralized spreadsheet. What are we even doing? All right. User Harog covers the latest developments with much debated execution layer upgrade for the Hegota hard fork. This is a bit of a read here. There are some interesting developments for the Hegota, or I'm going to butcher that name. If somebody in the chat wants to help me understand if I'm saying that right. I'm saying Hegota upgrade regarding encrypted mempools. Hegota comes after the Glamsterdam upgrade, which is probably coming this summer. That means Hegota might come by the end of this year or the beginning of next year. At the moment, the core devs are deciding for the headliners for Hegota. Last week, it was decided that Fossil is the headliner on the consensus side. Fossil is a great way to strengthen the censorship resistance of the Ethereum mainnet, and one of the upgrades I've been looking forward to since Tornado Cash sanctions in 2022. On the execution layer side, there are 4 proposals for headliners, or there were. I'm not going to worry about reading them all. Lucid being the last one mentioned. Lucid encrypted mempool. The last 2 are interesting to me, EIP 8105 and Lucid. The basic premise is that until now, the public mempool has been public and everyone could see what was happening in it. This opened up everything for toxic MEV to extract value from it. That is one of the reasons all of the private mempools start appearing. If you transmit a transaction through your wallet, this transaction nowadays mostly goes to a private entity. This entity then gives access to this transaction to a select few MEV searchers, which looks at your transaction and finds ways to extract value from it. Most of the time, the searchers are not allowed to sandwich you, but they still can extract MEV from you. Just the most toxic versions are prohibited. This kind of a win-win for the user and the searcher. The problem, though, is that it entrenches certain actors in the Ethereum space, and they can decide who has access to this order flow data. Private mempools also mean that the Fossil upgrade does not help these transactions. They could be censored in private mempools if the entity handling them does not like them. You also might not want to transmit directly on the public mempool, as you might get front run there. Not a good situation. The 2 encrypted mempool proposals improve the situation, as they allow transactions in the public mempool to be decrypted. No one knows what they are doing. If they do not get included fast enough, then the Fossil mechanism can force include them. When they are included in a block, the transaction then gets decrypted. Each of the 2 encrypted mempool proposals handles the decryption a bit differently. When they are decrypted, the transactions have to be included at the beginning of a block, I think, in a specific order, and cannot be sandwiched anymore. That's pretty neat. The EIP 8105 proposal has been live on the Gnosis chain for a long time now and seems to work. The Lucid proposal is a rather new one with some simplifications. The interesting development yesterday was that the proposers of EIP 8105 publicly stated that they withdraw their EIP 8105 proposal and now fully support the Lucid proposal. Pretty impressive move. For me, it looks like the encrypted mempool proposals are the ones with the most public backing, and now that everyone rallies behind just one proposal, it might go through. This means the Hegota upgrade could become a strong statement for censorship resistance. The decision for which the execution side headliner gets selected is happening this Thursday in the All-Core Devs Call, number 231. Update. For those interested a bit more, tomorrow's Ready for Merge podcast by Christine Kim, hosted by 2 encrypted mempool devs. Not sure when exactly she will stream it, but I guess the stream will appear on her YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the comments. There you go. Thank you, Harog. Top of the leaderboard with you, babe. All right. Very good. User Whispered State hasn't used Ethereum mainnet in years, and it starts a good discussion about real use cases. And user Inevitable Chain and user EVM Lion wish there were new interesting projects. Looking on Reddit here, Whispered State is a duder number 6. Looks like Logri's in here at 257. EVM Lion is a duder number 9. And who's the last one I said? Inevitable Chain is a duder number 8. Well, Whispered State says, time for a confession. I haven't used Ethereum mainnet in years. And how dare you? I got a sound effect that says that somewhere. I don't know where it is. No. There we go. All right. And I'm someone that downloaded the Mist wallet. Ooh, I remember Mist in 2016 just to play around and deploy contracts. If I haven't had any reasons to use Ethereum, then the average person certainly does not. Everyone is hyper fixated on price, but price isn't going anywhere without real compelling use cases. The only mainstream application right now is Polymarket, and that's not even on Ethereum. Shaking my head. Without use cases, the price might as well be the highest it'll ever be right now. What is this idea? I'm going to rant just for a second. I think I'm going to rant just for a second. Where did I go? I can't see myself. Oh, there I am. I just used Ethereum today. It was on base, right? But I swapped on mainnet from Ethereum to base. Like, there was use cases. I mean, every time we do a podcast, I'm playing around with whatever things are out there. People are building stuff. So if I'm using it, is it not a use case, or does it have to be as ubiquitous as getting gasoline for the car? Like, at what point is it a use case, right? If I'm using it and I'm having fun with it, then that's a use case. Are we talking about widespread? Is it got to be widespread? Because honestly, if we didn't have all these layer 2s, Ethereum's total number of transactions would pretty much choke out the network of 3 years ago. I could be wrong on that. But then they would be complaining about high gas prices. So is there no use cases and low gas prices, or is there use cases that are just kind of spread out into disparate chains and layer 2s and stuff, and you don't always see it? And just like we saw Grow the Pie, they showed charts. There's plenty of activity at different times of day in different regions of the world. So I don't know. You just got to put your money where your mouth is and go use it. Okay. We'll get there. There are companies building on it. It's just people got to vote with their dollar, but they're kind of, I guess people are just kind of sheep. They know that the mom and pop grocery store in Atchison, Kansas is closing, but they still shop at Walmart, even though the mom and pop grocery store butchers their own meat and has done so for 120 years. And it's a far superior product. Is it cost a little bit more? Yeah, because it's a more superior product. But we're such sheep that we've been lulled into complacency to think that going to the hardware store means an orange store in a suburb, right? But there's lumber yards that are better, that are sometimes closer. But we get washed over with advertising, and we just become zombies. So, I mean, okay, I'm done with the rant, I promise. All right, user Inevitable Chained replied, we have to remind ourselves that people went to jail for writing smart contracts. Compelling use cases are for sure here. What I really wish we could end is the dumb hype cycle speculation. Very good. NFTs, ICOs, meme coins, you name it. However, it will be really hard to wipe that all out until we have more examples like Polymarket. A few things I would like to see, for example, register news on chain so you can confirm who published it and when. What's Kiwi News? Isn't Kiwi News something along those lines? Next bullet, a very user-friendly app in your phone connected to stable coins so that you can pay anywhere or send people money wallet to wallet internationally. Yeah, I just used Apple Pay for the first time in a text. It's crazy. You can do it right there in a text message on iOS. It'd be nice if you could do some stable coins the same way. Maybe Apple someday will do that. ZK proof health records or visa details while traveling. I totally want to do that. Zero knowledge, HIPAA stuff. Sign in with Ethereum. I don't need to create another password, please. Yes, very good. User EVM Lion says, if I stay on this trajectory, it'll soon be a year for me. I also downloaded Mist and synced Geth locally when I discovered the tech. I think that for me, I've become a bit of an old hater type over time. Skeptic, pessimistic by default around any new project that pops up in my feed that I haven't heard about before. In contrast to optimistic and engaged in the beginning, eager to try out anything and learn more. That's so true. It's so true. I know that for me, it was observing the flood of grifts gaining all the attention, while the original spirit, values, and vision that I loved drowned a bit in all the greed. I don't know how much of this is just my subjective impression, though. I'm sure there were plenty of grifts when I entered as well, but I was blinded by the cool tech, so I didn't notice. And there's probably a lot of cool and genuine tech being built in the ecosystem right now. I just don't see it because I'm not searching. I still really love the idea, vision, and core values behind Ethereum that brought me here, in case people read this as capitulation. You know, this is just, it's sad to read, but it is true and it's honest. And so you can't deny people their honesty, right? I mean, do I open up Reddit with the same eagerness I did 10 years ago? No. Am I still here? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Am I still trying stuff? You bet. You absolutely bet. All right. User Gadfly Ghoulie, what a name, starts a discussion about the impact of MEV Boost on centralization, and fellow moderator Edmund Edgar delivers a clear and concise answer as per usual. Gadfly Ghoulie is a duder number one, making it to the weekly thread. Congrats to you. Edmund Edgar this week is a duder number 46. Gadfly Ghoulie writes, is MEV Boost still considered to be a significant centralizing force in Ethereum? I know it's very normalized now, but I've never seen anyone say that it has a non-negative effect. Back when it was discussed more, it was about block builders being very centralized. Edmund says, no, it's the opposite. The MEV Boost setup minimizes the centralization effect of the existence of MEV. MEV Boost gives us an open market where anyone can search for MEV and any staker can get the benefit. If we didn't have this open market, then sophisticated stakers with expertise in capturing MEV would significantly outperform solo stakers who didn't have that expertise. And solo stakers would gradually migrate to large, sophisticated, centralized pools. Very well said. User No Time for Infinity covers Harvard's ETH position that's in the red. Duder number 2 for No Time for Infinity for this week. And they write, Bienvenido, Harvardo. The post on X, Harvard's $53 billion endowment rotated $86.8 million from BTC to ETH at a 0.029 ETH to BCT ratio. They're down 20 to 40% on the position now, not selling. Same playbook as their 1990s emerging market debt buys that returned 15 to 20% over the decade. Endowments don't chase momentum. They accumulate when conviction is cheapest. Well said. And finally for this week, Superfizz. Superfizz shares his thesis on ETH as an investment and reflects on what has held true over the years. Superfizz is high on that rich list. He is a duder number 242. For years, I imagined that ETH would become a safe haven currency. I have a similar belief for BTC, but it's far less transactional. That hasn't materialized yet. So my second guess was that it would thrive as a tech investment. And if so, it would make sense that the emergence of AI would propel us. It makes sense that autonomous agents will adopt crypto for interbot transactions. See EIP 8004. But still, AI is emerging and we're still not booming. So my third thesis holds that crypto is still just a speculative vehicle. It tanks when risk is high and thrives when there's a surplus of money. So it's fine. We're still a speculative vehicle. This brings me to potential conclusions. Number one, this really sucks. It has been 10 plus years and the technology still hasn't connected deeply with the use case. And it's just a game of markets shuffling coins that don't yet have an established purpose. Number two, this isn't terrible. We see the future. We see a time where the world truly is digital, where autonomous agents outnumber people 100 to 1, and they need a transactional currency that is a first-class citizen in their domain. And ETH has been building toward becoming this ideal transactional currency for 10 years. We are ready. Throughout my time in crypto, I have imagined a million ways that we might find product market fit, and I sincerely believe we're really close. I think we're a blink of an eye away from mass adoption, but not the way we expected, by autonomous agents, not by people, and we'll still win. And there you have it from Superfizz to round out this weekly Doots. Well, thanks so much for subbing and smashing the bells here. You can find all of our socials at dailydoots.com. And if you want to join us on Reddit, go to our Ethereum. We are in the daily general discussion. Thanks again to Jake from QR. What an incredible project that is. And yes, there are use cases around every corner. You just got to go find them. qrcoin.fun. Check that out, and hope to see you on the next episode. Thanks again to EVMavericks DAO here on Discord. My name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas City.